Ready.
Welcome to episode 74 of the Go Get 'em Agility podcast. My name is Margaret Hughes and I'm your host. And I'm doing another What's the Difference? What is the difference between relative collection and true collection? So when we talk about collection, we're talking about the dog changing the way that they stride over an obstacle or in between a path of obstacles. And it's usually we're asking for collection on a turn or a bend. So either a tight turn or a gentle turn. Some people call it a soft turn or a hard turn. Relative collection is the collection that a dog offers naturally. So they're running down a trail and they naturally turn to come back to you or to go around a tree. It's just that natural turning that they do around a course. So without a whole lot of training, you just direct them around the course, versus true collection is usually taught. It's almost always taught. And the only time that it's not taught is when a dog finally learns after years of repetitive handling what a tight turn is going to look like. So true collection can come with time and without training, but if you want to put it on a verbal and get it on a course with a 3-year-old dog, you absolutely need to go in and train true collection because it is not natural to the dog. And so when we're looking at creating a tight turn for a dog, how they wrap that wing, especially when it is a 90-degree turn, this is where it's most important, is that you will see the dogs go wide on a jump arc and turn in a different fashion than a dog that's been taught how to collect before the jump and then turn. I would say that's the main difference, is a true collection dog is going to collect before the jump and turn, whereas relative collection is going to be more, maybe a little bit before the jump, but mostly after the jump. So the dog knows that they're turning, but there's not a tight turn. There's not a big collection stride prior to the lift of the jump. And there's lots of different elements to training true collection that's really helpful for the dog. One of them is teaching them how to go from extension, how to go from acceleration to deceleration, or extension to collection quickly. There are a lot of mechanics that we need to train in order to teach true collection. The first one is teaching the dog how to go from acceleration to deceleration or extension to collection. So teaching them how to keep their maximum speed right up until they collect for the turn. There is teaching the dog how to lift up from their hind end rather than out, which is also from their hind end. But when dogs are carrying themselves, they carry themselves either, I can't remember exactly the percentage, but I believe it's 60-40 or 70-30 on their front end. So they put more weight on their front end, where most of their organs are. It's in their chest area. And so when we're asking for collection, we're asking them to transfer a lot of their weight to their hind end, as opposed to just regular jumping. While they're taking off from their hind end, they are still traveling on their front end a little bit more. So true collection brings them into hind end weight shifting, and with that, they lift more up in collection than out. True collection is also very difficult for dogs because there's an element of going against the handler's motion. So the handler still needs to travel forward potentially for the next obstacle, but we want a tighter turn with a specific obstacle, and so there's a little bit of opposing motion involved, which can make it extremely difficult for dogs to go into true collection. Other things that make it difficult is just the dog's natural body structure. So some dogs are angled for more bendy, and some dogs are angled for more straight line jumps. Now, I do think that early intervention with puppies, you can teach a dog, even a angular built dog, you can teach them to bend, but certainly some dogs bend more naturally than others. So why would we want true collection over relative collection? Well, in my opinion, so there's been varying opinions on this over the years. A lot of people will argue that keeping a dog in full extension is more beneficial for time. But I disagree with that. I think that tight turns and then punching into acceleration is where it's at. I think that dogs who take an added relative collection jump line, which would be considered in more extension, are maybe staying faster in the air, but they're not faster on the turn necessarily. And I think that there's a lot of good balance that comes from a true collection trained dog, which allows for a better power out of the line to the next obstacle. I think that teaching our dogs to turn tight and power out of that tightness put a dog more likely on the podium than a dog that's jumping in full extension with bigger, wider turns. I don't have proof of this yet, but I see it with my own dog that his times are comparable to those around me that I'm competing with. And I work super, super hard on true collection, and it is very difficult for him to do on course. And it's not needed everywhere. I don't ask for true collection everywhere. I do want some of these wider turns that allow for a better angle onto the next obstacle. But it is super good for 90-degree turns, for wraps, for even more of a gentle turn, but you want to keep your dog out of a tunnel, right? There's a lot of benefit to it. And in trials, it's still hard for him. He definitely collects better in practice at home than he does at trials, but we're getting there. And I'm really, really glad that I did his early collection training, because I think once a dog gets into the habit of trialing, it is very hard to rein them back. I think it can be done, but I think it's very hard to rein them back to do some collection training. And I think that the handlers need to double down on that training in order to make it more effective in a trial environment. So there you go. Relative collection is the natural collecting that a dog does on a turn, and true collection is a trained collection jump that a dog is taught. And people often ask me, what is my true collection cue? And my cue is check, 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 which basically in my head means check your stride, add one in, and jump closer to the jump. Because they do. His natural jump length, I think it's about 5 feet, maybe 4. And his true collection is closer to maybe 2 feet. So he jumps up over the bar as opposed to out over the bar. All right, happy training. Woof, woof.